Content presented in Cheshire Corners is for educational and informational purposes only. Please consult a legal professional if you have any questions or concerns about the content of this disclaimer, this series, or the legal implications surrounding psychedelic substances in your jurisdiction.
Hi, my name is Rita Tsalyuk. I'm going to be your host as we trip through the looking glass. And I have here John from Huntington, West Virginia. He visited our Cannabis For Ukraine festival.
2 years since the start of Russia's full-scale invasion of Ukraine. And while those who are connected to the war are also fighting locally to raise awareness. And one of those groups is the Sunflower Seeds Organization, which is a tri-state nonprofit that raises funds to support families living in the war zone and those who fled elsewhere. And this weekend, they're partnering with the Huntington Gardens Dispensary to support that mission. Dispensary owners say the cause is near and dear to their hearts because they're Ukrainian immigrants themselves.
Thank you so much, John, for coming to us. And please tell a little bit about yourself.
Thanks, Rita. John Yeager. I am president of Sunflower Seeds. We are engaged with the mission of bringing awareness and resources for Ukrainian refugees. We work with our partners in Orange, France, who we have been able to gather funds together, and we send those funds and they gather necessary humanitarian aid and then truck those to Yaroslavl, Poland, which is just 25 miles from the Ukrainian border, where there's a refugee center there. And then some of the material ends up in Ukraine, even as far as the front lines.
Very cool. And Huntington is a pretty rural area. We have a dispensary in Huntington that we painted blue and yellow. It looks like just inspired with Ukrainian colors. But I noticed that there's so much of activity happening around Ukrainian cause in Huntington, West Virginia, and maybe because of Marshall University, or why do you think this is happening, that we see so much around that?
That's a good point. Marshall University, of course, is a major player in all things Huntington. Dr. Victor Fett, who was born in Ukraine and raised in Russia, he left Russia in the 80s and began a professional program as a professor in medical school. And you're getting customers, which is good.
Customers there, thank you. Yes.
But Victor asked, his students were asking him, "What about this Ukraine war?" This is, of course, 2 years ago tomorrow, when the Russians invaded. And so Victor decided to start a video podcast. It's called Ukraine. Every Friday at 1 o'clock Eastern time, he and other professors produce a video podcast that has people, academics, cultural folks, professionals, eyewitnesses, anyone who's been associated in any way with Ukraine. So they've produced 150 of these podcasts, almost. And we have been associated with him. In fact, Victor and his associate Larry Sheree are on our board. But Huntington is a place where we are used to tragedy. In the early 70s, there's the famous Marshall plane crash. So it's an area that is focused on solving problems and working together. And so we had our launch exactly 1 year ago tomorrow to begin raising money for this very important and necessary Ukrainian effort.
Thank you so much. And I'm right now in California. I'm sorry, but I didn't make it to the festival. I have a grandbaby.
Congratulations. Congratulations.
But you the one who is my eyes there in the ground. So what did you see so far? What happening at the festival?
Well, we have a wonderful vendor who's focused on tacos, which is fine, and is getting a lot of interest, and some great music from the 60s and 70s. Motown music is being played, so it's very festive. And we have a wonderful folks with coffee, and then we have our setup with the all our Ukrainian merchandise that we're selling that you provided, the eggs and pins and so on. Plus, we have an association with Blinko Glass, which is a local blown glass manufacturer. So we have our sun catchers and our what's called the Blinko water bottle, which is kind of internationally known. But it's the only factory that strictly blows glass. It's the only place where everything is blown. There's no molds, is what I'm trying to say.
Cool. And I know I ordered 2 banners, and one of them saying, choose your civilization, with Ukrainian and American flags next to each other. So I'm really hoping that this festival will bring an awareness with our government as much as, people support. We need to make sure that we're going to end up in the right civilization, and our kids and my newborn grandchild will be raised in the civilizations that we choose.
We're getting lots. We have, as you saw in the one picture I sent you, we have the Ukrainian flag beautifully blowing in the wind, and your banner. We're getting lots of people honking their horn, people stopping, getting tacos, getting coffee. So we're getting some activity, and I think it's helping. I think it's helping your dispensary as well. There's quite a bit of activity with that as well.
Yeah, we just want to make our biggest initiative is to bring awareness, and second one is to donate to Ukraine. Everything else is secondary, and I appreciate you coming and helping us. Thank you so much for that.
No, thank you. As I said, we've raised $36,000 so far this past year. We've sent nearly $16,000 to our partners in France. We also supported a young woman, Anna Filipova, who is a 20-something who lives in Kyiv, and on her own accord raises money through on Twitter, now X, and then purchases the materials and takes them to the front lines herself. So this has been an amazing odyssey for me and our whole board, getting to know Ukrainians both in the U.S. and abroad. Again, thanks to, in many ways, to Dr. Fett and his group with Ukraine.
Thank you. Slava Ukraini.
Slava Ukraine.
Hi, Bob. My name is Rita Tsalyuk. I'm with Yuma Way in Huntington Garden. As you know, we're doing a festival, Cannabis For Ukraine, and I'm from Ukraine. I'm 33 years since I came from Kiev, and I'm really welcome you here. Thank you so much for coming, and if you could please introduce yourself and tell a little bit about yourself.
Hi, my name's Bob McCollister. I am from the area. I've been involved with sunflower seeds from the very beginning. My role in sunflower seeds is I'm kind of the explainer. John Yeager does all the organizing, and he's the guy who really does everything about the fundraising. Patrick Grace is the guy who got us started. It's my job when we have these public events to talk to people and explain why Ukraine matters. My background is in political science. I got a PhD from Ohio State in the 1990s, 1992. It's been a while. And I studied national security policy studies, international relations, national security policy studies, particularly nuclear weapons, but also NATO, Europe, all those things. So I have a bit of a background in why Ukraine matters, why it's important.
So since you, the expert, tell me why Ukraine matters. I mean, I know why it matters, but maybe there's some viewers not sure about it.
Well, there are a couple of ways to look at this. The first thing that I try to explain to people is why this is in American national security interests. Just in hardcore realist terms, why this matters. And that's the first thing I generally talk about. This is a conflict which will resonate through the decades. Vladimir Putin is a threat to the system that has been built since World War II, that has guaranteed us the longest period of great power peace since the rise of the nation state in 1648. There's not been a great power war since World War II. He is trying to upset that entire system. He is trying to rebuild the Russian Empire, and he wants to destroy the system that's been built. The NATO alliance is in his way. He would like to see NATO destroyed, torn apart. He'd like to see, in particular, the American commitment to defend Europe no longer valid. And everything he's doing, everything he's done is undermining that system. So this is critically important. There's also the humanitarian concerns. One of the things that we did at the end of World War II, I mean, the system that we built was built on a couple simple principles. That we would link our security together with Europe's security. And that we would be part of this system where an attack on one was the same as an attack on all. But it was also built on common values, on believing in democracy and free societies. And he threatens all that. He has been encouraging the rise. First of all, he has built in Russia this authoritarian, ultra-nationalist regime. And I mean, he kills his political opponents, as we just saw. And he has been doing his best to support the rise of these, what are really fascist parties all across Europe, in France, in Italy, in Austria, in Hungary, and I mean, even in Germany itself. And he has been aiding, he's been interfering in elections, he's been aiding the rise of these parties, and that he's trying to destroy this democratic system from within. So he is a threat to all that. And then there are the humanitarian concerns, because at the end of World War II, when we saw what these ultra-nationalist fascist ideas had done, that they brought this genocide, we said never again. Well, it's happening again. This is happening again. He is bringing back genocide as a national policy. He can't imagine a Ukraine independent of Russia. In fact, he thinks it's an affront to Russian history. He thinks there's no such thing as Ukraine, that it is Russia. And he has carried out this war in a genocidal fashion, as I'm sure you know. If you look at what happened in Mariupol and everywhere in Bucha and Irpin, I mean, we've seen torture chambers, mass detentions as a weapon of war. I mean, this is the first genocide of the 21st century.
Yep, I couldn't agree more. And I don't know if you noticed, we have a banner here at the festival that says, "Choose your civilization."
Wow.
And it has Ukrainian flag and American flag next to each other, and then the Russian flag was across on another side of the
Yeah.
Just that's what's kind of this phrase keep resonating with me. And I picked that slogan on another event, was for the October 7th in Israel. And,
Yes.
and I think it's the same war. It's two fronts of the same war. Just at this point, I think it's two civilizations. I think I started when the wars started, I was telling it's not a war between ethnics. It's not religious war, it's not ethnic war, it's a war between good and evil. Added to it, good and evil, yes, but also war between civilizations.
Yeah.
And then I also hear, and it's also resonates with me, it's a war between future and past.
Yes. That's an excellent way to think about it.
Yeah.
The echoes of the 1930s are so powerful right now that it's truly frightening.
And when I left Ukraine 33 years ago, I saw very gray area. It was very depressed and mean and angry people. And when I came in 2014, I saw Maidan, and I saw people I never imagined to see, and they were full of energy and happy and striving. I felt like I'm immigrated from Soviet Union and from Russia. They decided to take the whole country and move away from that regime. And just how strong they are and how determined they are. Inspiration. Inspiration, and I'm really
The Revolution of Dignity in 2014 was inspirational because, I mean, it goes back to exactly what we were talking about a minute ago. The Yanukovych government was a puppet of Vladimir Putin. And it was incredibly corrupt. It was dominated by Russia itself. And, the Russians were feeding corruption in Ukraine, destroying Ukrainian democracy. And it was incredible to see the people of Ukraine rise up against it. And they'd done it before. They did it in 2005 in the Orange Revolution, and they did it again in 2014. It's inspirational peoples. To see people inspired by these principles that we all believe in. And it's those principles that they're fighting to protect.
So my biggest idea behind these festivals, and you see our buildings, also we put murals in all our buildings where we can.
Yes.
To bring awareness. We are collecting donations, but I don't think we can give as much as U.S. government.
Yeah.
And we're hoping that U.S. government will understand where the threat is coming from, just like you said in the beginning. And hopefully American people already in majority supporting Ukraine, but hopefully they understand why it matters and why this is a good way to allocate American taxpayer dollars, because we're protecting our freedom and we're protecting our democracy and we're protecting our safety and security.
Yeah, I really think we're at a turning point right now. I think what we do in the next few months, I think it's a turning point. The kind of 21st century we want to build. And I think Ukraine is at the pivot of all that. I think it's the thing on which all this is going to turn. We're going to make a choice. We have to get the supplemental passed. We've got to get this aid to Ukraine. I'd also like to see us confiscate all those Russian assets in Europe and the United States and send those to Ukraine. If we can do that, we can put the world back on a positive trajectory. You don't normally recognize a turning point when it's happening. Usually you only realize it in the rearview mirror when it's passed. But I think this is a turning point in the history of Western civilization, of world politics, and I think it's going to have resonance for decades to come.
Thank you so much for these words. I appreciate it. And thank you so much for coming and for this interview. Really appreciate your support. And I hope to see you more. And thank you so much.
I thank you very much. And thank you for what you're doing.
Hi, my name is Rita Tsalyuk. I'm CEO of Yuma Way. And we just opened dispensary in Garfield, New Jersey, where we're doing Cannabis For Ukraine festival. And we have a special guest with us. His name is Peter. And he has Ukrainian restaurant in New Jersey. And I haven't been there, but I looked at their menu. It looks yummy, and I want to try it. And I want for him to tell us a little bit about himself, about his restaurant, about his business, about this festival, and how and why do you think, Peter, people should support Ukraine, and why people should support Ukraine?
Okay, my name is Petro Onesko, and I'm a co-founder of Ukrainian Khata. I was born and raised in Ukraine. I moved to the United States 13 years ago. I try myself in a different kind of job opportunities, from working in a deli store to working with icons like Sylvester Stallone and a bunch of others. So I established myself as a commercial photographer. And a year and a half ago, when the war started in Ukraine, me and my partner, who is the chef, we decided to start food business, Ukrainian food business, because at that time, and still, you can see Ukraine all over the news on the front pages, but only thing that you can know that something been destroyed in Ukraine, and obviously the war is still going on. So as our part of Ukrainians, we decided to do our contribution and tell people what Ukraine is, what is the culture, what is the history, And obviously we decided to choose the language to speak is food, because food is it's multi-language. Everyone speaks food language, so that way we bring awareness about Ukraine, what actually happening right now, what was happening historically, how Ukraine was developing, what kind of heroes we have, historical heroes, modern heroes. We talk about all different parts of Ukraine. What are the specific cultures, those parts, and what are the national authentic food, of course. And we were very surprised with the feedback after since we opened, that people really like the food, really appreciate the food. And we have a whole bunch of different options for people who eat meat, who don't eat meat, who eat dairy, who don't eat dairy. Every single person finds something that they like. As your question, why do we need to support? So we really appreciate the opportunity that you give us, because what we do, we make awareness about Ukraine. And as you invited us, we have this opportunity to talk to people who are attending a festival, to obviously introduce them to Ukrainian food. Bunch of them haven't tried Ukrainian food. It's for the first time. Everyone like it, everyone love it. And of course, we start connecting to people, talking to people. They follow us on Instagram, and that's where they can find more about Ukraine, because this is the place where we educate people about Ukraine and Ukrainian culture.
Thank you so much for that. And did you see we ordered the banners that says "Choose your civilization"? That's kind of a thing that we're thinking right now when we're thinking about Ukraine. I think that's why Americans should really support Ukraine, because this is what's happening there. It endangers the whole civilization, and we just really need to stand up for what we believe and for freedoms that America has. And it's one thing to support Ukraine, who's on the right side and definitely on the side of the good. But another thing is just for the security of America and to protecting our own freedom. I think we should stand together with Ukraine, and we're really trying to promote that awareness that hopefully the American government and American people will be on the side of Ukraine. I want to ask you a question back to food. So since people do not know much about Ukrainian kitchen, and I think it's a hidden secret here, but tell us a little bit about it. And I just want to drool when you're going to tell about this. What do you have there? Vareniki?
We have the most authentic Ukrainian dishes over here. We have vareniki, we have golubці, we have sirniki, and we have chicken mushroom stuffed crepes. It's those all food, and also we have a homemade waffle cakes. When you have a layer of waffles with a condensed
oh, I love that one.
Side. I know. That's my go-to dessert. So we decided, unfortunately, we can't cater the whole spectrum of authentic food that we sell, but we picked one of the most authentic ones.
For those who doesn't know what vareniki are, can you explain what they are?
Let's talk about vareniki and on. So vareniki, it's very similar. We actually made that more clear in our menu, in our physical location, that it's more like a dumplings. So we have different kind of a vareniki. We have vareniki with potato, we have vareniki with cherry, with cheese, with short rib, with cherry.
And with cherry, the ones with cherry, are you using real sour cherry?
Yes, we have a real sour cherries.
It's really good. And what about chicken Kiev? I know that they call it chicken Kiev. We call it...
Yeah, so chicken Kiev, we actually, we have a main courses. We have a dumplings, we have a crepes, we have a main courses. So chicken Kiev is probably one of the best sellers from main courses. Chicken Kiev and golubці. The stuffed cabbage. So chicken Kiev, it's like a chicken cutlet with the butter and herbs inside. So as you cook, the temperature melts the butter inside, and once you cut the cutlet, the butter and herbs come and spices coming out of the cutlet. And as you cut piece after piece, you dip to the sauce, to butter sauce. We call it butter sauce, and it's just incredible.
And of course, you have borscht, right?
Yes, we have borscht. We don't cater borscht today, but our borscht is got very high feedback, especially from people who know what borscht is, because it's a one thing to impress people who never tried borscht, but there are also another thing when people had a really good homemade borscht and they still giving us very high rated feedback.
Well, I can't wait to come to New Jersey.
Please be our guest. We can't wait to have you.
Yeah, count for me for borscht, chicken Kiev, for vareniki of every kind, and double portion for cherries.
Well, let us know at least 30 minutes up front you're coming, so we can get everything hot and nice once you're there.
Very cool. Thank you so much for coming here. I appreciate you.
Thank you for the organizing festival, and looking forward to do more and more awareness and more support to Ukraine.